Be honest, when you open your game library, do you feel excited or stressed? Because for a lot of us, the backlog stopped being fun a long time ago. It quietly turned into guilt, into pressure, into this constant feeling that we're already behind, even when gaming is supposed to be our way to relax. We buy games with a good intention. We tell ourselves we'll get to them soon, but weeks turn into months, and suddenly that library doesn't feel like a collection anymore. It feels like a reminder of everything we haven't played. It's been over 2 years since I last talked about the backlog strategies, and honestly, a lot has changed since then. Not just the way I play games, but the way I think about them. I've burned out, I've jumped between too many titles, I've chased completions, ignored it completely, and even stopped playing games for a while because the pressure got in the way of the fun. And over time, without really planning it, I found a rhythm that actually works. Not a strict system, not a checklist, just a mindset that helps me enjoy my games again, without stress, without guilt, and without the feeling that I'm falling behind. So today, I want to share that with you. Not as a rule, but as a way to make your backlog feel exciting again. Because gaming was never meant to feel like a chore. Without further ado, let's get into the intro. Hey everyone, it's Vasharal here and welcome back to the channel. If you've been around for a while, you probably know this channel has covered a lot of different gaming topics over the years, and honestly, that was part of the journey, figuring out what we enjoy making and what actually helped us as gamers. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. The things we care the most and the things a lot of us struggle with. It's our backlog, that growing list of unfinished games sitting in our libraries, quietly waiting for the right time. So moving forward, this channel is putting a much bigger focus on that, helping you make sense of your backlog without guilt, pressure, or burnout, and turning it into something you actually enjoy engaging with. And today, I want to go all in that idea. This video is built around 30 backlog tips. No quick throwbacks advice, but things I learned through trial, burnout, mistakes, and a lot of gaming over the years. So some of this might already sound familiar. Others might challenge how you approach your library, and that's okay. You don't need to apply everything here. Think of it as a toolbox. Take what works for you, ignore what doesn't, and adjust it to your own life, time, and playstyle. This is a long, laid-back video, so get comfortable, grab a drink, and let's start with tip number 1. Tip number 1. The 2-hour rule for new games. Alright, let's start with something I've found absolutely essential over the years. The 2-hour rule. Whenever you pick up a new game, give it a solid 2 hours before deciding whether it's worth continuing. Why 2 hours? Many games have slow starts. They might take a bit to introduce their mechanics, story, or world. 2 hours gives you a certain window to see if the game clicks with you, without committing an entire weekend just to figure it out. Some games might take longer, sure, but 2 hours is usually enough to judge whether the core loop is engaging. And here's the practical part. If you bought a game and it's just not clicking, consider a refund if the platform allows it. Steam, for example, lets you refund games under 2 hours of playtime. This prevents the backlog from swelling with games you don't actually enjoy. I've had plenty of experiences where a game didn't immediately grab me. For instance, I picked up Persona 5 Royal a while back, and initially I thought the combat felt a little bit repetitive and the art style was not for me. But I pushed past the first hour and gave it a second hour, and suddenly I was hooked. The game's depth, story, and mechanics finally clicked. On the flip side, I've tried some highly hyped titles where the first 2 hours were underwhelming, and I realized that sinking more time wouldn't change any enjoyment. That saved me weeks of potential frustration. The 2-hour rule is about being deliberate with your time. It's not just about avoiding bad games. It's about protecting your energy and focus for titles that will truly engage you. Over time, applying the rule constantly helps shrink your backlog without guilt, because every game you keep is one you actually want to play. Tip number 2. Use subscription to explore. The next tip is all about using subscription strategically to explore without cluttering your backlog. Services like EA Play, Game Pass, or Ubisoft Connect Plus, I'm not sure exactly which one it was, they keep changing the name, but one of that, are perfect for this. Instead of buying every new release, you can test out games without permanently adding them to your library, letting you focus on what truly engages you. A few years ago, I tried It Takes Two through EA Play. It was cheap, and my wife and I decided to give it a shot. While she didn't enjoy it as much, I liked it enough to think I'd revisit it later with someone else. And that's exactly what I did. Earlier this year, I played it with AssistBot, a friend from our Discord channel, and it clicked in a completely different way. The experience was fresh, fun, and more engaging than my first attempt. Subscriptions let you experiment like this without the pressure of buying the games outright. You can try different genres, test the gameplay, and decide whether it deserves a permanent spot in your backlog. If it doesn't, great! You invest more time and maybe even buy it. If not, you've saved both money and mental space. The key takeaway is subscriptions are your backlog testing ground. Use them to explore, experiment, and focus only on games that genuinely excite you, keeping your backlog manageable and your playtime rewarding. Tip number 3. Celebrate milestones. The next tip is one that's often overlooked but incredibly important. Celebrate milestones. Backlogs can feel overwhelming because we focus too much on how much is left rather than what already has been accomplished. Taking the time to acknowledge progress, whether it's finishing a game, completing a major quest, or even achieving a funny or memorable moment, keeps motivation high and makes the journey enjoyable. For example, in Battlefield 6, I won my very first Battle Royale match in one of the funniest ways possible. I was down by the enemy early on, completely out of fight, but my teammate managed to fight the last 2 remaining enemies, securing the win for us. Even though I wasn't actually contributing at that moment, it still counted as a victory. That small milestone had me laughing, celebrating with friends, and reminding me how enjoyable gaming can be when you appreciate even the quirky, imperfect wins. Celebrating milestones don't have to be elaborate. It could be logging your progress in a tracker or journal, sharing your achievements with friends or a community, rewarding yourself with a snack, a break, or a short session in a lighter game, or anything of a sort. By doing this, you turn your backlog from a source of stress into a series of small victories. Every milestone is a proof that you're making progress, and that momentum is contagious. It makes the next game or the next session feel more approachable. Tip number 4. Take breaks. The next tip is simple but essential. Take breaks. Gaming can be intense, immersive, and sometimes exhausting, especially when you're working through a backlog. If you feel frustrated, tired, or mentally drained, stepping away for a while can make your next session far more productive and enjoyable. For example, after playing through multiple Assassin's Creed games, from AC3 all the way to Origins, I realized I needed a break. I had been immersing myself in one massive historical world after another, and by the end of Origins, I was feeling burned out. I took almost a year off from the series, giving myself space to recharge and explore other games. When I returned later, I was able to enjoy the next title I picked up with a fresh energy, noticing details and enjoying the world building in a way I might have missed it if I haven't stepped away. Breaks also give your brain a chance to process what you played. Sometimes a short walk, a cup of coffee, or even a longer pause allows you to think through strategies, reflect on story moments, or just reset your expectations. It's not about slowing down, it's about gaming smarter, not harder. Remember, taking breaks isn't slacking. It's part of a healthy gaming routine and prevents burnout, helping you tackle your backlog with energy and focus. Tip number 5. Seek recommendations. The next tip is all about seeking recommendations to help prioritize your backlog. Sometimes a backlog can feel overwhelming because every game seems equally important, or worse, you're not sure which one are worth your time. Asking friends, joining online communities, or checking trusted sources can give you a perspective and help you focus on games that are likely to bring you the most enjoyment. On our Discord channel, we have a dedicated recommendation information section, link in the description below, where community members share games they find interesting. It's a great place to discover hidden gems, get opinions from fellow gamers, and find games that might fit your backlog perfectly. Engaging with the community can help you reorder your backlog, focus on games you're more likely to enjoy, and avoid wasting time on titles that don't excite you. The takeaway here is you don't have to navigate your backlog alone. Seeking recommendations from friends, communities, or online discussions can save time, highlight hidden gems, and keep your gaming experience fun instead of stressful. Tip number 6. Make it social. The next tip is to make your backlog progress social. Gaming doesn't have to be a solitary activity. Sharing your experience with friends or family can make even long or challenging games more enjoyable and motivating, turning backlog sessions into social events, giving you accountability, encouragement, and often a lot of laughs along the way. For example, earlier this year, 2 members of our Discord community and I hopped on Borderlands to tackle some co-op achievements together. It wasn't just about helping our member BFG. It also reminded me to actually pick up the game and play it. Working together made the experience more fun, engaging, and rewarding, and it gave us all a shared sense of accomplishment. Making gaming social also works for tackling milestones, sharing your progress, achievements, or funny moments, like that Battlefield 6 match where I won in the most ridiculous fashion, can create a sense of accomplishment and connection. It's not just about completing the game, it's about enjoying the journey alongside others. Gaming is better together. Social interactions can turn backlog sessions from chores into memorable, fun experiences, and they often motivate you to keep progressing in ways that solo play sometimes can't. Tip number 7. Embrace mods and user content. The next tip is to embrace mods and user-generated content. Mods can breathe new life into older games, refresh experiences, or even enhance visuals, giving your backlog a fresh twist. They're an excellent way to make games feel new without buying something else, and they can help you enjoy titles you might have otherwise skipped over. For example, Skyrim is a classic that many of us return to because mods keep it exciting. Adding new quest lines, visual updates, or gameplay tweaks can make the game feel completely different from your first playthrough. It's a great way to revisit your backlog while keeping the experience fun and engaging. That said, modding isn't always straightforward. Take Fallout 4 VR for example. I tried modding it, but the process was far more complicated than the base game because VR introduces extra layers of setup, compatibility issues, and tweaking that can be a little bit kind of frustrating. I can't recall how many times I've spent hours modding a game only to play it for 1 or 2 hours and then drop it entirely. While modding itself can be fun, it can also take away from actually progressing in your backlog. So the key takeaway here is balance. Use mods to enhance your experience, but don't let them replace actual gameplay. Mods are tools to make games more enjoyable, not reasons to avoid completing your backlog. The goal is still to play and enjoy games, not just to endlessly tweak them. Tip number 8. Revisit unfinished games. The next tip is to revisit unfinished games. Backlogs often contain titles we started but never actually completed, whether due to time constraints, losing interest, or being lured away by something new and shiny. I actually spoke about this more detailed in a previous video, but it's worth revisiting here. Taking the time to return to those games can be surprisingly rewarding. We've all been there. You start a game, invest hours, and drop it because a new release grabbed your attention. But if you allocate time to tackle unfinished games ever so often, you not only make progress in your backlog, but you can also get the satisfaction of finally completing them. Even revisiting a game in a small session helps. You can experience a good portion of it without feeling overwhelmed, then come back again when time allows. For example, I've often set aside one unfinished title per month, giving it a dedicated session. When I finally beat it or complete it, there's a sense of accomplishment accomplishment that's hard to match. It's a tangible way to see progress, reduce backlog guilt, and remind yourself why you loved gaming in the first place. The key takeaway is don't ignore unfinished games. Allocate time for them, even in small doses. Every game you complete not only clears your space in your backlog, but also gives you satisfying sense of closure and achievement. Tip number 9. Play series in order. The next tip is to play series in order, whether that's chronologically or release order. This approach can enhance story immersion, give you context to characters, and let you appreciate how series evolve over time. For example, I'm currently working my way through Final Fantasy series. I know I won't go back to pick up only the best entries later, so I'm choosing to experience parts I never played as a kid, or titles I've heard a lot about but never connected with, so I can follow the story beats and see the progression of the franchise. It's about understanding the total picture rather than cherry-picking favorites. Some series like Yakuza work well graphically and can be enjoyed in story fashion. You can follow the narrative, see characters' arcs develop, and get a sense of world consistency even if the graphics are older in the earlier titles. On the other hand, there are games like Red Dead Redemption where the sequel is technically a prequel in terms of story. Here you have to decide whether you want to play them by release order or chronological order. It depends on how you want to experience the narrative. Unfortunately, the order doesn't matter if you enjoy the games. Even if older titles have dated mechanics or visuals, revisiting them allows you to appreciate how the series progress and evolve over time. Playing series in order isn't about rigidity. It's about immersing yourself in the story and experiencing the growth of the games you love. Tip number 10. Use progress trackers. This next tip is to use progress trackers. Keeping track of your backlog can make a huge difference in staying motivated and organized. When you can see what you've completed, what's in progress, and what's coming up next, the mountain of games feel much more manageable. Personally, my current favorite tool is Infinite Backlog. It's straightforward, visually clear, and makes tackling progress satisfying. There's other options too, like Backlogged, Backloggery, or niche tools like Backlog Assassin or aka Blau. Some of you who are watching this channel for quite some time know what I'm talking about. None of these websites are actually sponsored. I genuinely use and recommend them because they work. I'll include links in the video description if you want to check them out. For example, I log every game I play, noting whether I've finished it, completed side quests, or just dipped in for a session. Being able to visualize progress not only motivates me to keep going, but also helps me plan which games to tackle next. So I'm not endlessly flipping between titles or forgetting what I've already invested time in. Tracking your backlog makes it all tangible. It turns a potentially overwhelming list into a structured roadmap, helping you enjoy progress rather than feeling weighted down by unfinished games. Tip number 11. One main game, one flexible companion. The next tip is to focus on one main game while pairing it with a secondary game that complements it, not competes with it. Your main game is the one you prioritize for story, progression, or challenges. Your second game exists to balance what the main game might lack, whether that is faster gameplay, shorter sessions, or something more relaxed. This structure keeps your momentum steady, prevents burnout, and most importantly, helps you actually make progress. For example, Persona 5 is extremely story-driven. The narrative is fantastic, but the gameplay loop can feel repetitive over sessions. To balance that out, I paired it with Battlefield 6 as a secondary game. When I needed a break from the turn-based combat and dialogue-heavy session, BF6 gave me a fast, action-packed gameplay with zero narrative commitment. By rotating between the two intentionally, I stayed motivated, enjoyed both experiences, and continued making steady progress. Roughly after 160 hours, guess what happens to Persona 5? I completed it. I'll go deep into that experience in another video, but that alone proves that this system works. Now, this approach becomes even more powerful when you introduce handheld gaming into the mix. Devices like the Steam Steam Deck are perfect for secondary games. You don't need a massive graphically intense title here. Indie games, roguelikes, platformers, and games that don't demand a lot of processing power are ideal. These are games dedicated for shorter sessions, quick progress, and easy stop and go play, which makes them perfect companions to a large, more demanding games on PC or console. The key is splitting the roles clearly. Your main game stays on your primary setup where you can immerse yourself fully. Your second game lives on a handheld device ready to go anytime, anywhere. That separation matters because it removes friction. You're not booting up massive games when you only have 15 minutes. You're not forcing yourself into deep story sessions when your brain just isn't there. I personally play my second games during my break times at work. If you're commuting, traveling, or just away from your main setup, handheld gaming helps you cover more ground without cutting into your main game's momentum. Those small sessions add up, and suddenly you're making progress in two places without feeling overwhelmed. This system lets you enjoy variety without chaos. Playing too many games at once scatters your attention and kills momentum. But by committing to one main game and one flexible, handheld-friendly companion, you can stay focused, maintain engagement, and start clearing your backlog instead of just staring at it. Tip number 12. Trim your backlog. The next tip is to trim your backlog. Over time, backlogs tend to accumulate games you are no longer excited about, titles you bought on impulse, or releases that just don't spark your interest anymore. Holding on to those games creates mental clutter and can make the entire backlog feel overwhelming. By regularly cutting out games you're unlikely to play, you maintain a list that's meaningful, motivating, and manageable. For example, I found it helpful to create a high priority list. This is a curated section from my backlog that I truly want to play. I only include one title from each franchise I'm working on. A tip I picked up from a member of our Discord community a long time ago. I also add games I genuinely want to experience, like Game of the Year contenders, nominated titles, or entries from franchises I love. To put it in perspective, my initial backlog is over 650 titles. Realistically, I'll never play them all, but a large portions are games under 15 hours, one I can complete in 2 to 4 sessions. By creating a high priority list, I focus only on the titles I really want to play before I die, so to speak. It keeps my backlog manageable, ensures I'm spending time on experiences that truly excite me, and makes the act of finishing games feel rewarding rather than overwhelming. The key takeaway is to simply curate your backlog with intention. Remove what no longer matters. Highlight what truly excites you and focus on quality over quantity. A trim high priority list turns your backlog from a source of stress into a roadmap for fun, meaningful gaming experiences. Tip number 13. Organize by genre or mood. The next tip is to organize your backlog by genre or mood. Not every gaming session is going to suit the same type of experience. Sometimes you want something relaxing, other times you want something fast-paced or story-driven. Grouping games based on those elements help you pick up the right titles for your energy, focus, or available time. For example, I often separate games into general themes. Relaxing or casual games for when I want to unwind, intense actions or competitive games for moments when I want to focus and I have a lot of energy, story-driven adventures when I want to immerse myself in the narrative, and strategy or puzzles for sessions when I'm looking for mental challenges. This type of organization prevents the feeling of decision paralysis when looking at a big backlog. Instead of staring at 50 titles and wondering what to play, you can immediately choose a game that fits your mood or current energy level. It also allows for smoother rotations between different experiences, keeping your gaming time fresh and enjoyable. The key takeaway here is to play according to a mood and energy. Organizing by genre or themes gives you a structure without being restrictive, making it easier to enjoy a backlog while keeping momentum and engagement high. Tip number 14. Use playlists or queues. The next tip is to use playlists or queues for your backlog. Even after organizing games by genre or mood, having a small, intentional rotation of titles to focus on next can make decision-making easier and prevent the feeling of overwhelm. It adds structure to your gaming without being restrictive. For example, I like to plan about 3 months ahead, essentially mapping out a quarter. I select a mix of games. Some are titles from my backlog I really want to play, others are unfinished games from previous months, a few are smaller games I know I can complete in just a couple of sessions, and sometimes I include something from my front log, a new release I'm excited to buy and play. This approach gives me sufficient room to play based on mood, ensure I'm making progress on multiple fronts, and helps me decide what to tackle next without wasting time deliberately. Knowing in advance what I'll be focusing on provides a clear structure, keeping me engaged and ensures I stay focused instead of bouncing aimlessly between titles. Planning a small rotation ahead gives you direction and focus. It helps you enjoy your backlog, manage your time effectively, and make consistent progress without feeling scattered or overwhelmed. Tip number 15. Set play goals. The next tip is to set play goals for each session. Instead of wandering aimlessly through your backlog or just picking a game and hoping it sticks, approach each session with a small, achievable goal. This helps give you a playtime structure, keeps you engaged, and allows you to see real progress, even in games that can feel massive and overwhelming. For example, I often decide that a session will be dedicated to completing a single story chapter, finishing a side quest, or unlocking specific achievements. This small objective creates momentum without needing to commit hours on end. Even something as simple as clearing one area of a game or finishing a few missions counts as progress. And over time, those small wins add up to the major accomplishment. This approach is essentially useful for large or complicated games. Breaking them into smaller, manageable targets ensure you are always moving forward, rather than feeling stuck or intimidated by the size of the game. It also works well for revisiting unfinished titles. Sometimes all it takes is one focus session to get back into the rhythm and start enjoying the game again. Small, intentional goals turn every session into meaningful progress. They help you tackle long or challenging games, maintaining focus on your backlog, and gives you that satisfaction of accomplishment every time you play. Over time, this builds confidence, motivation, and more enjoyable gaming experience overall. Hey, I just want to take a quick break to thank you for taking the time sticking around until now. If you found these tips helpful, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. Maybe not this long, but focus on the backlog. That's all I want to say. Let's get back to the rest of the video. Tip number 16. Embrace shorter games. The next tip is embrace shorter games. Not every title in your backlog needs to be a massive 100 hours game. Mixing in smaller or indie games can give you quick wins, reduce backlog pressure, and provide a refreshing change of pace between longer and more demanding experiences. For example, last year I dedicated an entire quarter to focusing on shorter games. In just 2 months, I completed 70 titles from my backlog. Not every game was incredible or life-changing, but each one taught me something valuable. They reminded me of the importance of variety, allowing me to explore genres I might have normally not tried, and give me a strong sense of accomplishment as I ticked more games off my list. Shorter games also pair perfectly with the play goals method in tip number 15. You can set achievable objectives, finish a game in 1 or a few sessions, and feel consistent progress without the burnout that comes from only tackling long games. It's a way to keep your backlog moving while still enjoying every moment. Don't underestimate the value of short games. They're efficient, satisfying, and can reinvigorate your enthusiasm for tackling bigger titles, all while helping you steadily reduce your backlog. Tip number 17. track achievements. The next tip is to track achievements, whether it's in-game or through external tools. For some players, seeing tangible progress through achievements or trophies add motivation and structure, especially when tackling a large backlog. It's a way to celebrate small victories and keep yourself engaged even when a game is longer or complex. For example, I often use Steam Hunters and sometimes Completionist to track achievements. Those websites are fantastic for monitoring progress, comparing stats, and planning which challenges to tackle next. There are plenty of other tools as well, some of them cover multiple platforms, while Retro Achievements is great if you're enjoying older or emulated titles. That said, this isn't just for everyone. Not every gamer cares about achievements, and that's perfectly fine. The goal isn't to force completionist behavior, it's just another tool to help make your backlog feel more rewarding if tracking accomplishments motivate you. Achievements can enhance motivation and engagement, but only use them if it adds to your fun. They're a way to make progress tangible and satisfying, helping you see your backlog move forward one accomplishment at a time. Tip 18. Reflect on progress. The next tip is to reflect on your progress. It's easy to get up in the sheer size of a backlog and forget to acknowledge the games you are already completed. Taking time to look back can provide motivation, perspective, and a sense of accomplishment that keeps you moving forward. For example, I like to occasionally scroll through my completed game list to revisit moments I enjoyed, whether it's a challenging boss fight, a narrative twist, or a quirky in-game moment that stuck with me. Even smaller or shorter titles can have meaningful memories attached, and recognizing that helps me appreciate the variety and effort I've invested. Reflection also gives you insight into how your gaming habits have evolved. Seeing patterns like which genres you gravitate towards or which types of games keep you engaged can guide future backlog decisions, from what to prioritize next to which games to avoid. It's not just about finishing games, it's about celebrating the journey and learning from it. One of my favorite features is the Steam yearly replay, or what I like that they added in Infinite Backlog, the year in review. It's a great tool to really look back and reflect on the things that you played and really tackle your games moving forward. I will put the link in the description if you want to check my Steam or Infinite Backlog year in review so you can see what I'm talking about. Occasionally pause and appreciate your progress. Reflecting on completed games reinforces motivation, boosts satisfaction, and makes your backlog feel like a curated collection of experiences rather than an overwhelming chore. Tip number 19. Use community play events to create momentum. One of the most powerful ways I've found to actually move through any backlog is by joining community-driven play events. These aren't just social groups. They're structured challenges with clear rules, themes, and time frames that gives you deadlines, motivation, and shared accountability. Two great examples of this are Play a Game You Won on Steam Gifts and Play or Pay. Play a Game You Won on Steam Gifts. It's a monthly theme event built around finally playing games you already own, especially wins you never touched. Each month has a specific theme, and you submit a game that fits that theme either from your Steam Gifts wins or in some cases from your general backlog. You then play and beat the game during this month, following clear completion rules like reaching the ending, hitting a percentage of achievements, or matching how long to beat time if achievements aren't available. The structure removes the guesswork, the theme narrows your choices, the rules define what finished means, and the community keeps everyone honest and motivated. Play or Pay, or POP, works a little differently. It runs in 3 monthly cycles. If you sign up, other members pick a set of games for you from your backlog, and you do the same for them. Usually these games are divided by length, so you have the short ones, medium, long, and very long. Your goal is simple: finish at least 2 of the games that were picked for you before the cycle ends. If you don't do it, you pay by creating giveaways for the group. The more games you complete, the more points and rewards you earn, including access to special giveaways. It's a light pressure, but enough to turn procrastination into action. I've taken part in these events myself, and honestly, they're a lot of fun. You're not just playing alone, you're checking in, sharing progress, explaining your choices, and feeling that collective push to keep going. It turns backlog progress into something communal instead of isolating. What makes these events special is that they remove decision paralysis. The game is chosen, the time frame is fixed, and the goal is clear. All you have to do is show up and play. If you struggle with motivation, procrastination, or constantly bouncing between games, community play events can be a game changer. They don't just help you finish games, they help you start them, which is often the hardest part. Tip number 20. Set time limits. The next tip is to set time limits for your gaming sessions. Even when you're enjoying a game, long, unstructured plays can lead to fatigue, decreased focus, and less enjoyment overall. By defining a reasonable session length, you stay refreshed, motivated, and more likely to make meaningful progress. For example, I often dedicate roughly about 1 to 2 hours window for bigger games, especially those that are story heavy or mechanically demanding. Shorter sessions for intense games ensure I remain engaged without feeling drained. For lighter or shorter titles, the limit can naturally extend, but even then, having a rough framework helps keep maintaining consistency across your backlog. Time limits can also help manage life responsibility alongside gaming. With limited free time, I find that sticking to planned sessions allow me to enjoy games fully without feeling guilty for spending too long in front of the screen. It's a simple way to maximize enjoyment, focus, and efficiency. Structured session lengths improves focus and prevents burnout. Setting time limits ensures that each game session is productive, enjoyable, and a part of the sustainable approach to working through your backlog. Tip number 21. Prioritize worthwhile titles. The next tip is to prioritize worthwhile titles. Not every game in your backlog is equally engaging, rewarding, or memorable. By focusing on games that give you the most value, whether through the story, gameplay, or sheer enjoyment, you make the most of your time and avoid wasting hours on experiences that don't resonate with you. For example, I prioritize titles I'm genuinely excited about or have heard amazing things about, rather than feeling obligated to finish every single purchase. This includes games with stronger narrative, innovative mechanics, or ones that are part of a franchise I love. Playing with intention means I'm more motivated to complete them, and the satisfaction from finishing is much greater. Prioritizing also works in tandem with other backlog strategies. It complements the high priority list, curated queues, and play goals. Instead of being overwhelmed by dozens of options, you focus on the games that will give you meaningful, enjoyable experiences, while less excited or filtered titles can wait or even be removed. The key takeaway here is to spend time on games that truly matter to you. Prioritizing worthwhile titles keeps your backlog rewarding, ensure you enjoy every session, and makes progress feel meaningful instead of burdensome. Tip number 22. Replay favorites strategically. The next tip is to replay favorites strategically. Revisiting a beloved game can be incredibly rewarding, but doing it without thought can lead to burnout or waste of time. Approach replays with intention and consider yourself to get the most enjoyment out of the experience. For example, if you're revisiting a series you love, spacing out entries or choosing specific storylines to replay can make the experience feel fresh rather than repetitive. This can also apply to remasters or remakes. Even if you've played the original, a remastered version can offer updated visuals, improved mechanics, or even content that make the experience worth your time. The key is to be deliberate with your replays. Don't jump back into every favorite at once. Instead, pick what excites you, plan sessions thoughtfully, and savor the experience. This way, revisiting old favorites strengthens your enjoyment, keeps you motivated, and ensures your backlog progress alongside your nostalgia. Tip number 23. Take notes or journals. Another valuable tip is to take notes or keep journals, and this can look very different depending on the type of gamer you are. For long, complex, or lore-heavy games, even simple notes can help you keep track of your story beats, side quests, locations, or mechanics. But beyond just practical tracking, journaling can become part of your enjoyment itself. For me personally, I take this step further by writing reviews, creating content around the game I play, play, and participating in communities that encourage reflection and sharing. A great example is the Infinite Backlog community, where you can write journals, share impressions, document progress, or simply talk about the journey you're having with your backlog. And once again, none of these mentions are sponsored. These journals and posts help you stay connected to your backlog rather than just blasting through games. They also anchor your memories. When you return from a break, you know exactly what you were doing, what you felt, and why you stopped. And sharing those thoughts publicly, whether through content creation, reviews, or community posts, can make finishing games feel more meaningful and social. The key is that documenting your journey keeps you engaged, adds personal value, and helps you reconnect with games quickly after breaks. It becomes part of the fun instead of your obligation. Tip number 24. Use cross-platforming syncing. A few years back, I used to bounce between PC, PS4, and occasionally the Nintendo Switch. It was fun, but juggling different platforms also made staying organized with my backlog a bit chaotic. Different save files, different ecosystems, different achievement trackers, it all added extra friction. These days, I mostly game on PC, but there's one device that changed everything for me: the Steam Deck. I use it every day during my break at work, usually roughly about 30 to 45 minutes, and honestly, it has been one of the greatest reasons I've been able to make real progress on my backlog. Steam Cloud Sync makes it seamless. I'll play on the deck during my break, then continue the save on my PC when I get home without even thinking about it. If you commute, have limited time, or just don't feel like sitting in front of your PC or console, handheld like the Steam Deck, Switch, or any device with cloud saves can be a game changer. They turn those small pockets of time, breaks, evenings in bed, travel into real productive gaming sessions, and they keep you from losing momentum. I still have Nintendo exclusives waiting for me, and part of me is saving a few when my daughter is older and able to pick up the controller herself. That's the beauty of organizing your platforms well. You can plan your backlog around life, not the other way around. Cross-platform syncing keeps everything tidy. No duplicate progress, no forgetting where you left off, no replaying segments because you switch devices, just smooth, continuous progress wherever you happen to be. Tip number 25. Mix high and low effort games. Another strategy that keeps your backlog manageable and your gaming experience healthy is mixing high effort and low effort games. It's a way to balancing your mental energy, your free time, and your mood without burning yourself out. High effort games are the ones that demand focus. Big RPGs, challenging action games, dense story driven titles, or anything that require learning systems, reading a lot, or staying emotionally invested. These games are rewarding, but they are also draining if you play them non-stop. Low effort games, on the other hand, are the titles you can just sink into without thinking too hard. City Skylines, The Sims, cozy games, simulators, or simple repetitive loop games. They help you rewind, reset your brain, and keep gaming fun instead of feeling like work. This balance matters more than people think. If you only play high effort games, it's easy to burn out and drop them halfway, adding even more unfinished titles to your backlog. But when you pair them with something laid back on the side, you keep your momentum going, you stay engaged without frying your mental energy. It's like giving your brain two modes to choose from, depending on how you feel that day. Some evenings you have the energy to drive into a world-saving epic game, and the other night you just want to manage a tiny digital town or decorate a house in peace. Both count towards progress, both keep you gaming, and both makes journey through your backlog far more sustainable. This balance also works when alternating between genres or backlogs with multiple priorities. Heavy action, strategy, or story-driven games are rewarding, but they can drain you if played back to back. Having a lighter option ensures you stay engaged, enjoy your sessions, and keep the momentum going without feeling stressed or burnt out. Tip number 26. Use difficulty settings to enhance completion, not slow you down. Another way to move through your backlog faster is to stop treating difficulty settings like a badge of honor. If you're not like me and don't obsess over getting every achievement, there's absolutely no shame in lowering the difficulty, especially when a game doesn't require normal, hard, or impossible for any trophies or achievements. Sometimes the smarter thing you can do is pick up the setting that lets you actually enjoy the story and the combat without without feeling stuck. I do this all the time. A great example is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The combat in that game can be punishing, with the dodges and parry timing that demand full focus, and honestly, I'm just trying to enjoy the world, push the story forward, and keep the momentum going. I just lowered the difficulty, no regrets, and I just enjoy the game as it is. Not every game needs to be a test of patience. If dropping the difficulty helps you finish a game, appreciate the narrative, and stay motivated, then do it. At the end of the day, your backlog is there to be played, not to stress you out. Tip number 27. Don't be afraid to drop a game, aka guilt-free quitting. Not every game in your backlog is going to be a winner, and that's perfectly okay. One of the most liberating things you can do for your backlog is to give yourself permission to drop a game without guilt. We all have this instinct to push through because we already started it, or because we heard it's gonna get better after 10 hours, or simply because it's been sitting in our backlog for years and it feels like you're supposed to finish it. But the reality is that forcing yourself to play something you're not enjoying doesn't just kill your motivation, it slows your entire backlog progress. You start avoiding gaming, you start bouncing between titles, and everything becomes a chore. If the gameplay isn't clicking, if the pacing isn't dragging, if the story feels boring, if the mechanics frustrate you more than entertain you, then drop it, shelve it, or move on. No guilt, no shame, just clarity and honesty with yourself. I've done this plenty of times. Sometimes a game just isn't for me at the moment, or maybe not ever. And that's fine, because clearing mental space is just as important as clearing physical space in your shelf or digital library. Remember, every game you don't force yourself to finish frees up time and energy for the games you actually want to play. And that's what healthy backlog management is all about. Tip number 28. Consume gaming content daily to stay motivated. One of the most underrated ways to keep your backlog moving is to engage with gaming content daily. This doesn't mean playing every day. It means keeping your mind in the gaming world, staying inspired, and seeing what others are enjoying. Podcasts, YouTube channels, blogs, or even community forums can give you a little nudge of motivation, new perspective, or fresh ideas for tackling your backlog. For example, I used to listen to Kinda Funny Games daily, literally daily. Their discussions, news updates, and insights on games reminded me why I loved gaming and kept me curious about upcoming releases. Similarly, YouTube channels like GameRanks, alongside others, provide reviews, breakdowns, and highlights that can spark excitement for games I already own or help me discover gems to prioritize in my backlog. The key isn't to overload yourself, but to keep a gentle daily connection to the gaming world. Even 10 to 15 minutes of listening to a podcast while commuting, cooking, or taking a break can rekindle that motivation to return to a game you paused months ago. It reinforces your love for gaming and gives you new ideas for which titles to tackle next. Think of it like training your backlog muscle. The more you stay engaged mentally, the easier it becomes to take action physically. Sitting down, picking a game, and actually progressing. Staying in tune with the gaming community keeps you inspired, informed, and moving steadily through your backlog. Tip number 29. Control your spending. One of the biggest hidden enemies of managing backlog is uncontrollable spending on games. This one hit me hard recently. Trying to budget again after the newborn arrived, combined with the fact that my wife isn't earning at the moment, made me realize how easy it is to let buying games spiral out of control. Bundles, subscriptions, daily Steam deals, and the constant flood of new releases can make you feel like you're missing out if you don't buy everything. But here's the truth. Buying games you'll never play only makes your backlog heavier and more stressful. It's not a badge of honor, it's a clutter. I have to admit, I've been guilty of this myself. I wish I had listened to this advice years ago. Sometimes I tell myself I'll play it later, but later never really comes. Being honest about your spending, setting limits, and only buying games you genuinely want to play soon is one of the best ways to protect your backlog, your wallet, and your sanity. Controlling your spending isn't just about money. It's about prioritizing your time and attention. Every game you buy but never play is a missed opportunity to finish something already in your library. And trust me, I've learned the hard way that your backlog thrives when your purchases are thoughtful, intentional, and restrained. Tip number 30. Enjoy yourself. And here we are, the last tip, but arguably the most important one. Having fun while tackling your backlog. If gaming starts feeling like a chore, a source of stress, or a must-complete list, it's time to pause and rethink your approach. Some members of our Discord community already embrace this mindset. I'm looking at you, Adi. Remember, playing games should never feel like work. Sure, you can gamify progress, track achievements, or set goals, but at the end of the day, gaming exists to bring enjoyment, relaxation, and inspiration. If the hunt for backlog completion starts weighting you down, it's okay to step back, take a break, and set aside the whole pursuit for a while. Be realistic about your backlog. You might never finish every single game, and that's completely fine. The goal isn't perfection, it's fulfillment. Enjoy the games you play, appreciate the journey, and don't stress about unwinnable mountain of titles still waiting. And beyond the games themselves, life lessons matter too. Staying healthy, looking after yourself, and spending quality time with your family and friends are just as important, if not more, than finishing the 200 hours RPG or stack of indie games. Gaming should enhance your life, not compete with it. So take this tip to heart, enjoy the games you enjoy your time, and let your backlog be a source of joy, not guilt. And that brings us to the end of the very long video. If you stuck around all the way through, first of all, I just want to say you're awesome. Second, it shows you're truly dedicated to conquering your backlog, improving your gaming habits, and building a healthier, more enjoyable relationship with games you love. I genuinely appreciate your time and support. If you got value out of these tips, let me know in the comments. Which backlog habit are you already doing, and which ones are you planning to start? I love reading your thoughts, your progress, and your personal experiences. It helps our whole community grow. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe for more backlog content and gaming related videos. I've got plenty more coming, and I'd love to see you on the next one. This has been Vasharal. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless, have fun, and happy gaming.
Humble starts the hunter and the dreamer say.